What's up, you guys? Cameron Cornish here, your #1 real estate agent in St. George. And today I got an awesome video prepared for you. I'm going to have one of my good friends, Taylor Distler, come on here. He actually currently lives in Florida, but him and his family are moving here in a few months to St. George. And when I asked him why he chose St. George out of all of the places in the country, he told me how he used AI to determine what city to live in. And I got to show this to you guys today because I know there's some people watching right now where maybe you're trying to decide between 3 to 5 different cities. We're going to make the case that St. George is the best place for you to come live and raise your family in. So we're going to get into that today. This is Living in STG. Let's do it. All right, guys, so on today's episode, I got Taylor Distler with me. He lives out in Florida, and I got a phone call a couple months back from him and his buddy Clay that they're both going to be relocating out here to St. George. And so I immediately started working with them. They actually found me through my YouTube channel, which is kind of cool as well. But him and I got to talking, and I asked him, like, how did you decide St. George was the place for you guys? And what he shared with me blew my mind. And so I wanted to make sure I brought him on. Taylor, thanks for joining us on Zoom today, man. I appreciate you hopping on with us.
Yeah, no worries. I'm excited to talk about it and appreciate you having me on.
Real fast, right before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of it, man, tell us a little bit about your background, right? Because a lot of this has to do with AI. And how you kind of utilized AI to determine your decision here. You're obviously pretty efficient when it comes to this thing of that we call AI, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's a broad term, right? People use AI for a lot of different reasons. You can use it from really big data sets or building AI, or you can use it in your own small business or everyday life. So yeah, my background, technically speaking, I work for a venture capital studio, I guess is the closest thing that would describe where I work. I work closely with two specific businesses. One is in kind of more the commercial space, health and wellness space, but we're really focused on the research side as well. But when operating that business, we use AI a lot for content creation, for research purposes, for operations, even in efficiency. There are a lot of ways to use it. And then in our other business, which is a completely separate business, which is in the HVAC side of the world and software, it's called Blue On. We use it in that business as well. Not only do we use it for our own operations and marketing purposes, but we actually built our own AI as well. And it's able to help technicians out in the field get access to real-time information when they're working on a unit during a service job or even doing an install. There's a lot of use cases for it. I won't belabor the subject on this podcast, but it's a really cool tool. And through that process and kind of discovery and learning all the functionalities of it, I use it in my everyday life, even when looking at places where I may want to live.
Love it, love it. And that's obviously exactly what you ended up doing. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably had, 5 to 7 different cities that you were kind of measuring up pros and cons between St. George. Am I correct on that, Taylor?
Yeah, that's correct. In doing research, I've lived on the East Coast. I'm originally from Kentucky. I've lived obviously on the West Coast, and now I'm currently in Florida, which I do love Florida. There's a lot of reasons to love Florida, but I've become very interested in maybe what this next move will be for myself, and that could mean long term where I'm going to live for the next decade. It could be an investment property. Part of my process with the AI was, hey, give me a list of some great destination cities or towns that would be nice to live at, but also have multiple kind of features to them. And so I put together kind of a final 5 or a final 10 here and there, a list of great places to live in the United States that had big growth rates or at least a lot of recent interest. And it's funny how it shaked out with St. George being a pretty attractive option.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you share your screen with us on that and actually start to break it down for us, start to show us kind of how you put together this AI search and even the prompts that you put in and everything, because first off, AI blows my mind, right? And I'm not the best at it, right? Somebody like you who's worked with it, built businesses off of it, and so forth. Obviously, you understand how it works, and so you're pretty efficient with it. A lot of people aren't, and maybe some of the people watching this video right now aren't either. But maybe you could do the work for us here, okay? So if somebody else is out there right now doing the same thing, thinking the same way you're thinking, walk us through kind of how this all worked and break it down for us a little bit, Taylor.
Yeah. So, what is AI? The AI we're using, it's called like an LLM, a large language model. So, without getting too technical, what it's able to do, it's able to understand language very, very well and then reproduce language back to you and communicate back and forth. So, it can scour the internet or any data set and learn new things. It can learn how words are basically coded next to each other. Again, I don't want to get too nerdy, but that's what it does. So it can turn, a weeks long process into maybe a 20-minute project.
Wow.
So it's a pretty cool deal. What you're looking at right now, it's my actual chat GBT that I use. I use the paid version, so you don't have to use the paid version. There are some cool features that give you more real-time access to information that's online. It also can digest larger prompts. But yeah, I like to use Chat GPT 4.0 just because it has the biggest and best functionality right now. And the prompt we're going to use here, as I'll show you, it's not a small prompt. I'm pretty specific in the request I'm making of the chat so that it gives me a really thorough answer and it cites its sources and it can rank, these cities that we're going to look at today appropriately. And you can have a full conversation with this thing. So once we get started, it doesn't end there. You can continue to ask questions and build out a pretty robust chat with this AI feature.
Awesome. Cool. Let's do it. Let's get into it.
So in this example, I'm telling it, as you guys can read on my screen, you're an expert on real estate across the United States. You help professionals and their families identify great places to move, live, and build their dream life. You not only have a real estate agent license in all 50 states, but you also write thorough content for online publications detailing everything there is to know about America's best cities. You're thorough, informative, and a great communicator. So I'm using very specific words to act and behave a very specific way when it responds to my requests that I make. So that first paragraph is very important. And again, when you're writing these things, you can misspell a little bit. You can, maybe not use the best grammar. It'll work through it. It's very intelligent. So you
That's
don't
good.
have to.
That's good to know because
Yeah.
that's what I struggle with. So as long as it can correct it for me, then we're good to go. We're golden.
I feel like I'm a walking promo for
ChatGPT.
OpenAI and ChatGPT right now. Okay, so here's what I did. So I'll just read it out loud and we'll go from there.
Okay.
So you have a client that's very interested in moving to St. George, Utah, but they want to compare the city against other destination cities around the United States. The other cities they're interested in are Denver, Colorado, Tampa, Florida, Dallas, Texas, Charleston, South Carolina, and Nashville, Tennessee. You need to build a report that ranks and grades each city out of 100 points on the following criteria: housing affordability, living affordability, and I included some, subcategories of what makes up living affordability. That can be something totally different for you. K through 12 public school ranking, access to multiple airports within a 2-hour drive. I tried to tell it. The crime rate, things to do in the area. So outdoor activities, sports, entertainment. And then I put dash anything in the 3 to 4 hour driving radius can qualify. Again, totally up to you what you put in there for that.
Totally.
Growth rate and outlook for the city, cleanliness, weather, general quality of life, sentiment or happiness of the people that live there. Because I've seen a lot of reports that are published on sentiment of the residents in cities. So I thought that would be very interesting if it could pull.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one a lot of people don't even think that much about, right? Unless maybe you come from like Seattle where it's always gloomy and kind of depressing, but a lot of people don't even think about that. So I'm glad you inserted that in there too.
100%. And I can even speak to some of these. We were when we came to visit and spend a little bit of time, we could measure, what we saw in ChatGPT against what was our, real world experience. At the end, I think it's really important to summarize for the chat. again, what is it that you're trying to have them do for you, and point out the very important elements of the output that you need from it. So this report, it's a report it's putting together. So I use that word specifically, should be accurate, because sometimes chatbots can, they say it can hallucinate. That's a very popular term in AI right now. So chatbots will just make things up.
Right.
So you need to tell it, hey, you need to be accurate, you need to be informative, you need to be organized with your information, and all the references and sources of information should be indexed and provided at the end for reference. Make sure to write 1 to 2 sentences summarizing each category for St. George only for each location, so the reader has more detail. At the end, please provide a ranking/score summary. So we're going to see how this turns out. This may be too long of a prompt, and we'll see how it outputs the information, but then we'll tweak it from there if we need to make any adjustments. Because in this case, I think this is pretty good, pretty thorough, probably too thorough, and we'll see what it outputs. So let's check it out. So what you're seeing right now is it's starting to process the information. It's going to start outputting the cities evaluated, the criteria as well. And it'll start walking through step by step how to rank these different cities. So you're going to see, it start to output some of the information we're looking at right now. Living affordability, housing affordability, public school rankings, access to airports. It's starting to break down the airports right here. Crime rate.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about all of those, probably except for the airport here in St. George.
Yeah, right.
A little bit of a
But
small.
and you can also conversate with it and say, hey, what do we know about the airport that's coming up that maybe is not found in super publicly available information? So what you know by living in St. George is they're trying to double the capacity of the airport over the next few years. So maybe that's a tidbit you could add to this and say, hey, factor in that the airport will double in capacity in St. George, and have that factored into your calculus.
Totally, totally. That's awesome.
So you see crime rate, it's actually the best out of all these cities in crime rate, which is really, really good. Very low crime rate. Things to do in the area, it got a really high score, but so did the other cities because they are destination cities. That's good to see. That's a fair and balanced way to assess it.
Absolutely.
Growth rate as well, right here. Cleanliness, very clean. And you can see it stopped at cleanliness. So we want to tell it to continue generating. So it's helpful so far. Yes. And then we'll say, please finish the rest of the response.
I love how we're doing this real time too, right? Because I know you showed me, excuse me, you showed me the original one that you did. But we don't want anybody out there thinking that we finessed it in any way, shape, or form. So we're watching like lifetime AI go to work for us right now, making the case of why somebody should move to St. George. I think this is awesome.
Yeah. And to be fair, we're not even telling it to make the case for you, right? We're saying, hey, just assess it. Go head to head with all these other places and tell me what you think,
Yes.
based on the data you can pull online. So we're getting there. We're getting through all the different characteristics that we asked. So we told it, hey, be thorough in your response and finishing out the rest of this assessment. And it's doing it right now. And now it's putting a table together for me, which
Wow.
it didn't do this when I showed it to you the other day.
Yeah,
It didn't put it. So now we're getting our own table too. So the conclusion is St. George, Utah ranks as the top city in this comparison with an
wow.
impressive total score of 892 out of 1,000. So it excels in the categories such as cleanliness, crime rate, outdoor activities, and overall quality of life, making it a prime destination for those seeking a peaceful, nature-oriented lifestyle with a strong community feel. You didn't say that. I didn't say that. There was nothing about that in the original prompt. That's what it outputted. So
So
pretty cool.
cool, man. So dang cool. And I'm so glad that so many people get to see that too. Because, I know definitely this was something that we thought about and we had to go through a lot of our own research, not using this kind of technology or AI. Right? When we were relocating from Las Vegas here, we were comparing it really to Las Vegas mainly. So it wasn't that hard to make a decision moving from Las Vegas to here. But still, I wish I had this kind of technology to actually see some of these, some of the statistics of it, I guess we can say. And you did more than just one city, right? How many cities did you have on there altogether, Taylor?
So on this one, we just had one, two, three, four, five in comparison. But on my other one, I did like 12 cities.
Awesome.
So, and it was ranking number one pretty consistently against some really good towns, like places that I've been to across the United States that I really liked and had a great time. You know, anytime I was there, I saw some wonderful homes, saw some wonderful, places of the country with amazing nature, charming cities. So, it's great to see how this broke it out. And then when we did this prior to even getting in contact with you,
Right.
uh, we kind of did our homework and then we came out and saw it for ourselves from the lens of, okay, could we see ourselves spending significant time here? And all of our personal factors from family to, our interests to the weather we like to proximity to things that we like to do, all factored in and kind of held it to this light and tried to compare to see if it were accurate. So it was good.
Love it. Super cool, man. I'm glad you're able to share all that with us. And while I got you on here too, maybe talk briefly about that, right? I mean, when you guys came out here and met with me and we got to actually go out, right? So for those of you guys who don't know, it's cool. I've been working with Taylor right now, and on the real estate side of things, we're helping him find a lot and a builder right now. His timeline is still a couple months out. So for those of you guys that are in situations like that, that's totally fine, totally cool, right? I understand some people are looking to move, like in 30 days, and some people have like a 6 to 9 month timeline. And so maybe building is an opportunity or something you can do. So, Taylor, talk real fast as we kind of wrap up and finish up, right? Maybe your experience so far with working with me, coming out here, visiting. What has that experience been like? And just talk to us real fast about that before we hop off.
Really good. I think the challenge that a lot of people have, the challenge with me, the scope is so large from size of the home, my budget, the timing. Maybe I can move in 5 months. I can move in, 2 years. I could build a home, buy a home, you name it, it's all on the table. So I
Right.
think the first thing that was really important for me is just a level of comfort. So just feeling like we're not pressured into getting something done immediately, but at the same time, knowing that you were there and actively engaging with me was a key because I was nerding out in the background, and it's always good to have someone that you can actually talk to who's boots on the ground and has a good feel for the not only the landscape but the community as well. So that the feedback was really good. I feel like you've been extremely honest and upfront about the kind of do's and don'ts and the things to watch out for versus the things that you really like or the things that you see out of me that I would be interested in. I think you're really focused on that, which is nice, but there's been no pressure either to like move too fast and make any mistakes, which as you can tell I don't want to make a mistake. But but yeah, so I'll start there. It's super broad. I'm not a very specific time frame or very specific budget, and so with that, we had to look at a lot of stuff. I mean, you really helped me sort through just about every option there is, and so the options we went through when I came out there, we met the very next day, which was good because I got to get into town, kind of drive around, go get dinner, wake up the next morning. We got to it. We saw probably 12 homes the
Yeah.
first day in 100 plus degree heat, and it was really really enlightening because we saw every single part of the town. We had no idea there were so many neighborhoods and the town was so large, with how diverse it really is. Because you can find just about anything from, being closer to commercial developments that are going on, the golf courses that are being developed out, more communal feel and kids and very local, tight-knit communities, closer to churches if you want to be next to churches, in the hills if you want to be in the hills. We saw it all. New developments closer to Hurricane, closer down south. We truly did see it all. And it's through that process that gives you a good feel for where you can see your life. And
Yeah.
I think that's what you're going to have to do. That Chat GPT can't do that for you. You're going to have to find somebody like yourself to help guide you through that process.
Absolutely. So, advice for everybody out there, do it the way Taylor's done it, right? I mean, hopefully this video can help you in the sense of you can get a good idea through research, through AI, and make the case that, hey, St. George definitely needs to be a top contender as far as the city that you're going to move your family to. But then the next step is obviously plan a trip, right? Reach out to me, shoot me a text, a phone call, email, whatever you want to do. Plan a trip out here. Let's get together. We'll go look at everything you want to look at so you can make an informed decision. And that's exactly the route that we're taking with Taylor. So, man, I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to have you come out here, get the home that you really want built for yourself, and for our families to continue to get closer as well, man. I definitely see both you and Clay being really good friends of ours out here, and I'm excited for you to make the move already, man. So no pressure, but a little pressure just because I need more friends out here. So let's do it.
No doubt. I appreciate it big time. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
See ya.
See ya.